Bellingham, Volume 5. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is really awesome to stand up here and look out at this crew of people. Really, really good audience. You guys are awesome.
You're a rock star.
It is so exciting to see this event come together. We started running these in our town's blacksmith shop, Altility Art Studio, which was awesome. It was raw and industrial and rugged, and it was also really cold in the wintertime. I think probably some of you guys remember seeing your breath coming out sitting in that space. So it's an honor and a privilege to have kind of graduated up to this space. It feels really good to be in here. Is everyone comfortable? You guys okay in the back? Can you guys see? Everyone can hear me? We're good? Alright. Alright, first things first, with this funny little event called Pecha Kucha. Let's talk about the pronunciation for just a second. I would say 99% of the people that engage with these things say Pecha Kucha, and that's alright. It's kind of like an Indiana Hoosier type approach to the word. Pecha Kucha. Technically, I've heard, it comes and goes, I've heard different people say different things, but I believe that the event is pronounced Pecha Kucha. Say it with me. It sounds like kind of like a train rolling. Pecha Kucha, Pecha Kucha, Pecha Kucha, Pecha Kucha. What the word is actually a Japanese word, but I believe it's slang. It's Japanese for chit chat, which is kind of the essence of the night. These kind of casual conversations. Pecha Kucha. How many of you guys have been to a Pecha Kucha event before? Oh, this is a better second question. How many of you guys have not been to a Pecha Kucha event? That's really cool. I like that. That means that our marketing efforts are working. We'll give many shout outs to Aslan throughout the event. Thank you. That was product placement. Thanks, Aaron. So for everyone, regardless if this is your first or fifth time, if you like what you see this evening and want to stay up to date for future events, the best way to do that is to sign up on our Facebook page. Just give us a like, and every time that we post something annoying, it'll bling into your world. Also, connected to that, we have an awesome videographer filming tonight, Zach. We've got a couple cameras going, and he's going to edit these down into a nice, tight package, and those will be posted on the Facebook page and probably a YouTube channel or something. We'll make it so everyone can have access to this night, because I think that we're going to hear some pretty cool presentations. A little bit of background about Pecha Kucha. The idea is very simple. Fundamentally, all we're trying to do is gather the community together to talk about creative ideas in a very specific format, which is that every presenter is going to show 20 slides and have 20 seconds per slide to elaborate about what their point is. The other key is to make this a fun, celebratory environment and not a stale kind of meeting type feel where certainly not this many people would be in the room. The point is to make it fun. And outside of our control, outside of our support of this policy, from the top down, from the official headquarters in Tokyo, Japan, that started Pecha Kucha, beer is kind of a founding element of this event. So we're just doing our due diligence to follow and form and make sure that everyone has a beer if they want one. They're really adamant about it. It's kind of funny. It's like all over their webpage, and like we sign contracts of agreement to run these events here, and they're very serious that beer should be involved. Pecha Kucha was started back in 2002 by an architecture firm in Tokyo called Klein Dytham. It was a group of young designers who wanted to kind of invent a new way to share their ideas, as people coming out of architecture school and working in these startup firms and stuff. And what they were used to seeing is these kind of boring design presentations where some egomaniac stands on stage and talks for 2 hours about how brilliant they are, and no one cares, and it's a terrible event. So they came up with this idea of how do we enliven that? How do we freshen it and make it something that's fun and kind of soundbite and something that connects to the way that these days we want to hear information come to us. And so they came up with this 20-slide, 20-second idea as a technique to make presenters sharpen their pencils and tell their stories with a rapid-fire delivery. just really emphasizing the idea that less is more. It's a relatively arbitrary format, but the fact is that it works, and there's evidence of that around the world. There's 750 cities now around the world that run these events. We started Bellingham back in 2011. And that said, among those 750 cities, I've been to several in cities East Coast and West Coast, and I've never seen anything like this room come together. This is really cool. This is really cool. I've done events in Seattle and there's like 45 people in the room. I think we're pushing 300 here, which is awesome. So starting in 2011, we kicked this thing off, and we've run 4 events before this. The past themes have touched on design and construction, innovative agriculture, harebrained adventure with some just absolutely crazy tales of Bellingham people doing weird, crazy stuff in the wilderness. And the last one was essentially a general theory on creativity, a bunch of just people talking about the creative process. Tonight's theme brings a new flavor to the idea of Pecha Kucha in that the presenters aren't talking about work that they've done and kind of showing examples of stuff that they've done and are proud of, but instead they're going to be looking forward and they're going to be talking about ideas that they're excited about, visions that they have, and dreams that they kind of want to share with this room of what they're kind of seeing all of us moving towards. Bellingham 2.0 is about the evolution of the city and the surrounding region. It's about the future of our home and the community that we're all trying to create. I personally feel incredibly fortunate to have grown up in this corner of the country, in this corner of the state, and in specifically this corner of the county. I think of Bellingham as the true Northwest, and I feel a really distinct pride in that association. The people that are called to live here, all of us in this room, I think that there's a really, truly unique quality about us here. I've lived in a lot of cool communities in Vermont and Colorado and California, and I've never seen anything that feels like the integrity and the potential of what Bellingham brings to the plate.
We must be new here.
So with that unique character, I think that we have a unique responsibility to steward this place that we call home. I think that change comes at us from every angle, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly. What are we going to be facing in the years to come? Climate chaos? Coal trains? Invading hordes of Californians and Canadians?
No!
What will that all look like? It's a worthwhile question to ask. But they say that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what tonight is all about. Envisioning the places that we want to go. Building our future by intention, not by accident. Engaging the voices of the people. The inspiration for tonight's theme came about after a discussion with my buddy Jason Bourne, a fine engineer in the room here tonight, where he asked me if I'd been attending the waterfront planning meetings, and I kind of embarrassedly said no, I hadn't. And he asked me why not, and the truth of the matter is that it didn't seem like a really fun way to spend my evenings, going to bureaucratic public process hearings and stale fluorescently lit rooms and waiting my turn to chime in with a point that probably maybe wouldn't be listened to. So, I want to be involved. And I think everyone I know wants to be involved too. So this idea of Pecha Kucha and this kind of format that we've been working on seemed like a really fantastic way to change that conversation and to gather a room of wonderful people together, sit down and listen to presentations by a bunch of leaders in our community, have conversation afterwards, drink a beer, and just chit-chat with our community. We put a lot of effort specifically into this night, and in general, to making these presentations non-linear, and not just kind of a straightforward, cut and dry master plan, master policy vision of Bellingham, but trying to shake that up. Trying to look more into the nuanced angles of the community and the space between the lines. And we have a really fantastic lineup of presenters tonight. The talks are diverse and represent a wide arc of the physical and cultural characteristics of this community. Swill Canum from HonorWorks will discuss the Lummi heritage of this land and what it means to live with honor in our actions. Susie Whitman of Explorations Academy will talk about the way that we educate our children to be innovators instead of just test takers. The staff and interns of Cloud Mountain Farm Center will present their vision of how we feed our community in the years to come. Derek Long of Sustainable Connections will talk about all of you guys, the superhuman people of Bellingham. Mike Smith of Zervis Group Architects will present his vision for new development at the Granary Building and along Army Street. Mark Buer from 2020 Engineering will talk about urban agriculture and how we can design waste out of our systems and create food with the byproducts. George Dyson, author and historian, will present a radically old school vision of coastal commerce. Rose Lathrop of Sustainable Connections and Alex McLean of Bellingham Green Roofs will talk about the idea of placemaking and the creation of regional character. Ken Bothman of La Fiamma and Fiamma Burger will talk about creative input to the city and how we may better recognize our social history. And Brian Flowers from Mole's Farewell Tributes will discuss a topic that confronts every single one of us at some point. And if we choose to live in this place, we're also choosing to die in this place. And raising the conversation to look at how we can better honor that experience and honor our loved ones when their time has come to depart this life. It's not an easy thing to do, to stand in front of a huge group of people and talk about your big ideas with an oppressively strict clock ticking away. So let's give our 10 presenters a big round of applause for agreeing to run the gauntlet.